Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Inspirations for Whole Wellness. I would like to continue our conversation on Are you an empath? And I want to ask you today, do you tend to socially isolate? Do you find that um do you find that being around others is overwhelming? Number 1. Do you find that you isolate yourself from others and others are feeling like you are a little standoffish? Do you find that people call you aloof, or that when you are around people who are not authentic, do you find that you kind of freeze and you just don't know how to be? So if you are feeling into what I'm saying right now and you agree, it's probably because that's part of who you are. Because I know for me, a lot of these were things that I was dealing with. And if somebody came and told me, do you find that when somebody is inauthentic, you freeze and you just you are really awkward because you don't know how to be around people who are so ego or so inauthentic or so like they're pretending to be somebody they're not, and they're super like putting up a performance, or it looks like it's like they're putting up a facade, and it's like you don't know how to handle that. So then you distance yourself from that, and then it can appear as though you are aloof. It can appear as though you're standoffish. And I know that was the case for me. I would compare myself to others that would be loud and extroverted, and not to say that all extroverted people are putting up a facade, but the people I was surrounded with at times in my life were pretty just putting up a show, putting up a facade, and I appeared very shy. I appeared very like, I don't know how to be around you, and I would blame myself for being so not like them. So I want to come back to this conversation of are you an empath? Because empaths do tend to socially isolate, and they tend to feel lonely. They tend to feel isolated. They tend to feel that the world doesn't get them, doesn't understand them. It can be even hard in intimate partnerships where your partner is not an empath and they don't understand why you are the way you are. A lot of empaths isolate themselves or keep themselves distant from others because they tend to feel overwhelmed around others very easily. So their go-to place might be to protect themselves, to be like, you know what, never mind, I'm just not gonna go to this event, or never mind, I'm just not gonna do this. I'd rather just be alone. I'd rather just be in the comfort of my own home, in the comfort of my own things that I do every day. I don't want to have to deal with getting anxiety, getting overwhelmed by being in this other situation. Now, there's a level to which this is normal and healthy, that you don't want to expend your energy in gatherings they're not meaningful. But I want to look at the part of, if it's isolation, if it's really to the point where you're not expressing who you are with the world, and the world doesn't even know you, and you don't even know you, and you're holding back a lot, then that is where we want to shift that. I know for myself, for years, I wouldn't express myself. I wouldn't express what I had within me. I knew I had gifts. I knew I had things I wanted to share. I was feeling very inspired by A Course in Miracles, by quantum physics, by Dr. Joe Dispenza, by the things I was studying in psychology and biology and all the things I was doing. I was feeling very pulled to want to share them, but I wouldn't, because it was overwhelming to have to be in front of others, to have to speak my voice, and then what if others told me weird, or like I wanted others to like me, to agree with me, to be I wanted to please others, to make sure others are hearing what they want to hear from me. So if I was to talk about all my interests and all the things that I was into, then I was running the risk of being judged. I was running the risk of people saying, who do you think you are? Or why are you, why are you talking about this? Like, that doesn't interest me. So at times I would isolate because I couldn't find people that would feel like I could have these kinds of conversations with them, that I wouldn't feel like I could not be overwhelmed by other people. So it is a matter of really, first of all, knowing yourself, that if you're an empath, you're going to feel, you might feel some of these characteristics. You might feel that you isolate, that you distance yourself, and that you prefer to be on your own or with just certain people, because everything else just feels really overwhelming. And you just don't, maybe you feel awkward, you don't know how to be in certain situations. And what I want to get at with this is that once you get past that and you know yourself, you know that you're an empath and that's part of what you're dealing with, and then you know what to do with that overwhelm, you know what to do with that social awkwardness, and then you start trusting yourself, you start loving yourself more, and you start being who you are as an empath, as a beautiful, amazing empath, and you start honoring those gifts that you have, because empaths have some gifts that the world needs that others don't have. And once you start tapping into that, then not only you start expressing yourself more, but you find a community of people who get you, who now you can have these conversations with them and you don't feel overwhelmed by them because they're like you. That's what started happening in my life. Once I started doing my own healing work, knowing myself, loving myself, being different, being, the person that others don't necessarily relate to. But once I started really allowing that to surface for me and not to judge myself too much, I started meeting people and more people and more people that are like me, that are we have discussions and they don't feel overwhelming. We have big gatherings and they don't feel overwhelming. We have communications that feel genuine, authentic, real, in depth, or surface and small talk, but it doesn't feel like inauthentic. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'd rather, not deal with that. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that all my relationships are like that, right? So they're family members, there are other relationships in my life that still don't get me, still don't, I still have to do my own work to be with them, and when I'm with them, it's an opportunity for me to look within myself and do my work and realize what's been triggered in me, and it's a constant opportunity for forgiveness and for growth for me. So I'm not going to say all my relationships are like that, like where it's all of a sudden I'm in this world surrounded by empaths and we all get each other. Maybe one day that will happen, but it's not like right now like that. But I do have more people in my life right now that are this way, like the way I am. So that's, though it had to start where I was all alone. It felt like that. I felt like the weird one out, and then to realize that there's many of us that are this way. And in fact, if you feel that you're called to help others in whatever way that is, and empaths love to help others, it might be that you might feel drawn to help other people who might be like you but don't know what to do and why they are the way they are. So a lot of different things I want to share about this. This is already part 3 or 4 on discussing about empaths, because obviously there is so much to share. So I will come back with more conversations around this, and come and join me inside the free Facebook group, the Whole Wellness Method Facebook group, where we give specific tips and tools and things like that for empaths, but also for all kinds of other things. So we have a beautiful community in there. Come and join us, and I will see you next time, leaving you in whole wellness. Bye-bye.